Okay, everybody, this is mooneydashcam, and just like I told you I would, this is a story of how Roy DeMeo had to kill Chris Rosenberg because of the Colombian drug cartel. It's a crazy story of how this went down, kind of the Gambinos and the Colombian drug cartel butting heads a little bit, not really butting heads, they gave in pretty easily, and as a result, Chris Rosenberg had to be killed. Alright, let's flip this around and get into it. Alright, follow me on Instagram at mooneydashcam. I post in there every single day. Also, don't forget to leave suggestions for future videos in the comments. I very much appreciate that. Alright, let's get into this. So, Chris Rosenberg, who was pretty much saw Roy DeMeo as a father figure. Sometimes they say they saw each other as brothers, but he did sometimes assume Roy DeMeo's last name. So Chris Rosenberg was a big part of Roy DeMeo's crew in general. He dealt drugs for him, he stole cars for him, and he was a part of the Gemini method situation where in the Gemini Lounge they would have people. They were a famous crew for killing a lot of people. I've told the story a million times at this point, but it's worth telling again. They would have people enter the lounge, the back of the lounge. They called it the clubhouse. Let me pull over. There's a guy up my ass. Everyone's in a rush on a Sunday. Yeah, go on by. No big deal. And you honkers, I let you through. They'd enter through the back. Almost every time it would be Roy that did this, but it wasn't always Roy. Roy would pop out with a silenced pistol, shoot them in the head. Right after that was done, a towel would be wrapped around their head as they fell down, as to not have blood go everywhere. Another member would stab that person in the heart so the blood stops pumping. Immediately after that, they'd be dragged into the bathroom and hung up in the bathtub, over the bathtub, so their blood would drain and the remaining blood would coagulate, to make the next step of the process cleaner, which was dismembering the body, cutting it up, putting it into bags and boxes, and disposing of it however they did. Most of the time, it was over at the Fountain Avenue dump that they would put this. Oh, I forgot to mention, we are in Flatbush Brooklyn right now. We're going to the Gemini Lounge first, and then we're going to where Chris Rosenberg was killed. Well, was staged killed. We'll get into it, don't worry. Okay, back to the original story. So, Chris Rosenberg is part of Roy DeMeo's drug dealing crew. So, he goes to Miami, Florida to set up a cocaine deal with one of Roy DeMeo's loan shark customers that got into the drug business to pay off some of his debts. Charles Padnick was the guy's name. He introduced Rosenberg to a Cuban guy named William Serrano. Serrano set up a drug deal through men named Pepon and El Negro. They were the Colombian Cartel. Rosenberg introduced himself as Chris DeMeo. He didn't know these guys. He never met these guys that were the Colombian Cartel. The guy, William Serrano, just said, I have a connection that could get you cocaine. So Chris Rosenberg didn't care. Oh, and Chris Rosenberg used DeMeo's last name because he was embarrassed that he was Jewish. He did not like that he was Jewish. He viewed Jewish people as very weak. Obviously, this was a sick guy. He was also a murderer, so it's not the worst thing he did. To continue on. Yeah, Rosenberg didn't know these guys were the Colombian Cartel. He just thought there was some guy that could set up a big cocaine deal for him, and that's all he cared about. So when El Negro sent down Charles Padnick, William Serrano, along with his own cousin and girlfriend to New York, hours after they landed, that's a Gemini Lounge, by the way, to the left. Oh, you can't see it yet. It'll get on camera in a second. I'll hop out, don't worry about it. Okay, I'm gonna make this left. Right there, that door with the little awning, that is the back door that they would let people in. We'll pull up here. I'll get closer. Like I said, shortly after they landed, like hours after they landed, they were all killed, dismembered, and disposed of. Typical DeMeo crew MO. not anything new. They say that Roy wasn't involved in this, but there was little that went on in Roy's crew that Roy didn't know about. So maybe he wasn't directly involved, but he wasn't caught off guard when this came up. Okay, I just had to wait for church to let out. I didn't want to record everyone as they were leaving church. Say hi to the truck. This is the Gemini Lounge. Right here is the door that they would let people in. That eventually, spoiler alert, Chris ended up being let into. This is one of the back doors. See, that guy's worried about what I'm doing. Nothing bad. Don't worry, everybody. Everyone's well concerned. Okay. So, after they dismembered and killed the 4 people that El Negro sent, Chris Rosenberg actually ended up having to go to the hospital for a gunshot wound to his hand and the side of his head. So there must have been a fight that went on. This is a little community garden right over here. Pretty nice. But yeah, so when he didn't hear back, he told Jamie Padnick to fly down to New York. And that was Charles Padnick's son. Jamie Padnick was also killed and dismembered. It's the Purpose Life Church now. Like I said, I had to wait for church to let out. I didn't want to record everybody and be creepy. But there you go. So, only knowing New York City and the name Chris DeMeo, the Colombian Cartel snooped around and eventually led to the Gambino family and Roy DeMeo, of course. And Anthony Gaggi, DeMeo's crew supervisor in like a sense, wasn't really that, but his nephew Dominic Montiglio, who claims he was the messenger between the Colombians and the Gambinos, relayed the info that Chris Rosenberg needed to be killed and it had to make the news. Otherwise, the Colombians wouldn't believe it, and that there would only be more problems and really a war between the Colombians and the Gambinos, and really the mob in full. Okay, now we are off to where Chris Rosenberg's body was found. I keep wanting to say Chris DeMeo, but obviously that's not right. Oh, if I didn't mention the address to the Gemini Lounge, it is 4021 Flatlands Avenue. Now we're heading, like I said, to where Chris Rosenberg was found. So, the Colombians wanted Chris Rosenberg's murder to end up in the news, which really wasn't DeMeo's crew's fashion. They kind of made people fully disappear. Of course, the responsibility to kill Chris Rosenberg lands on Roy. Typical Mafia fashion, they get the person that's closest to you to eventually kill you when it comes down to that. If it comes down to that. He knew it had to be done, Roy, but he stalled for a few weeks. And in the meantime, rewind. Stalls for a few weeks. The Colombians send down enforcers. They threaten a little bit of violence to make sure Chris is eventually killed. Now, Roy hears of this, and he's a paranoid mess, which leads to one of my more recent videos about Dominic Ragucci. He chases a vacuum salesman, a 19-year-old vacuum salesman selling vacuums to makers their way through college, parked outside of Roy's house, and Roy chases and kills him. I have a whole video on that. I'll have it in the description. So after that, the people that are above Roy DeMeo are like, listen, you're too paranoid. You have to get this done so we don't have to worry about the Colombians anymore. So Chris Rosenberg shows up for his nightly Gemini crew meeting, Roy DeMeo crew meeting, which is in that spot that they call the clubhouse, that little apartment behind the Gemini Lounge. Now, DeMeo knew what he had to do. He really didn't want to do it. He was like sick to his stomach over this. This is a guy who killed people and didn't care at all about it. And he really did not want to do this. But they all sit down for the meeting. The whole crew knows what's going on. Whoa, buddy. As Chris Rosenberg sits down, Roy DeMeo takes out a pistol from a brown paper bag and shoots Chris Rosenberg once in the head. Now, Now, mind you, this all happened at the Gemini Lounge, the spot that we were just at. So, Roy takes the one shot at his head. It hits Chris Rosenberg. It doesn't kill him. It wounds him. He ends up on the ground. He ends up taking a knee. And Roy doesn't fire another shot. He's like completely thrown off by having to kill his friend. Now, one of the Gemini twins, Anthony Center, stands up and puts 4 more bullets in Chris Rosenberg's head. Okay, now they just killed him inside the Gemini Lounge. How's that going to make headlines? All right, I'm going to speed this video up as fast as I possibly can, and we're going to go to how they made that happen. Just to give you guys an idea of the route that we're taking, they actually took Chris Rosenberg's body, put it in the passenger seat of a car, and drove it down this way, parked it up, and set up a real scene for the cops to find. Okay, like I said before, they had to make sure that it made papers. So, he was in a BMW in the passenger seat. They said they parked him outside of Hangar 4. Now, this is Hangar 4, the gates of Hangar 4. So, I don't know if that means, like, the gates, like, over there. But we'll go to both sides, just in case. You can imagine, maybe it was parked up right here. Maybe it was on the street, 'cause this is in 1979. May 11th, 1979. I tell the story. So they park him up, and they get Frederick Denome and Henry Borelli to drive by. Henry Borelli hangs out of the car and shoots a machine gun into the side of the BMW to really make sure that it would make the news, that it would be a statement, that it would be known as a real hit. Okay, so all in all, there were 12 bullets in his body. Now, the car also could have been parked here because this is the other side of Hangar 4. I wish I could get in this spot. So it's not worth it to climb a fence to get 5 feet closer to, I don't know, a hangar. So yeah, there were 12 bullets in his body, all in all. 25 rounds were fired at almost point-blank range at the car from a .45 caliber machine gun. Now, 45 caliber machine gun, that tells me it might have been a Tommy gun, but I could be wrong. There were definitely other 45 caliber machine guns back then. Chris Rosenberg had on him a 9mm pistol, not fired, with a full magazine. Then on the floor, there was his briefcase with another full magazine inside of it. There was like $600+ inside the car. Now, this is Floyd Bennett Field. Another name for it is Gateway National Recreation Area. Now, the whole crew were suspects to this crime, but there wasn't enough evidence to convict anybody until later on when the crew was pretty much all gone and dead. The remaining crew members, someone ratted, and the remaining crew members actually had to pay for this. But yeah, like most of Roy's crimes, he didn't pay for anything. Just like that Dominic Ragucci situation. There's an old hangar down there, or building, whatever it is, that I really want to break into, because there's one of the boards are really loose. But I'll save that for another time. Like, look at that over there. Wouldn't that be cool to go into? That old abandoned one? Alright, whatever. Back to the truck. Oh, the NYPD takes their helicopters off from like the back of this, that's what reminded me of it. But yeah, their helicopters take off from like the other side of this park over here. Oh. Grill. If you know, you know. So witnesses say that Roy DeMeo actually showed that he regretted doing this murder for years afterwards, which is, like I said, very unlikely. People say he killed like 200 people, which those numbers are a little inflated. Let's say he killed 100 to really calm it down, and people will even argue with that. But yeah, that is pretty much everything I have to tell you about Roy DeMeo killing his like best friend. He was gonna try and get Chris Rosenberg made, and yeah, when the mob wants someone dead, they get their best friend, their best buddy, their father in some cases to kill them. So that's pretty much everything I have to tell you about that. Hope you enjoyed.